Okay, Fanny, great job writing these new essays. So let's get straight into it and see what you've done. In some countries, using the internet in schools is getting more popular. Is this a positive or negative development? The issue of internet usage in numerous educational institutions is a contentious issue which has grown in importance over the years. Okay, right, it is here because it's internet usage, so good job. Despite the tremendous benefits that can be derived, it should not be forgotten that the internet is a relatively new phenomenon and still at an early age. Okay, it's a nice complex sentence here, starting with despite, but the word choice of at an early age isn't entirely correct. We use this more for people, so a better choice here would be relatively new phenomenon and still in its early stages. Okay, it's more accurate for something like the internet, which is an inanimate object. Okay, just to go on, this essay will discuss both issues using examples from the UK and the business world to demonstrate points and support arguments. All right, nice and clear introduction. So going on to your body. On the one hand, there are ample evidence. Well, evidence, you're right, it's uncountable. So you needed an is here. There is ample evidence to suggest the benefits of the internet are increasing, okay? Especially related to an academic environment. This is because when a school is connected, it has faster access to more information. Furthermore, it can bestow increases in efficiency. Okay, I like that you tried to use an advanced level vocabulary word like bestow, but it's not entirely appropriate here. So, you could have said instead, furthermore, it can increase efficiency, it can facilitate an increase in efficiency, would also have been a good choice. For example, in certain schools across the UK, matters such as absenteeism, disciplinary procedures, and general communication can be performed over the internet through email. Great sentence, but there's a little problem with your collocation here because you don't perform a matter. So that's the issue. You don't want the word perform. You want can be dealt with, can be handled, okay, and not performed. Therefore, it is clear that if the internet continues gaining in popularity, there would be more positive implications. Okay, a nice wrap-up sentence there for your first paragraph. On the other hand, one of the negative effects, well, you were right the first time keeping the S there. So one of the negative effects of being connected is, that's correct too, the possible over-reliance on the private sector. Over-reliance is actually a compound word, so you want to put a hyphen between it and not leave a space. This is due to the fact that educators are getting into the habit of consulting Google for answers. This may be argued as putting too much faith into the hands of the technology companies. It's a nice sentence, it's a nice example, nice and cohesive, but you need a device, a cohesive device, a linker between answers and this. It's missing there, okay? And the comma is not enough. For example, recent studies by a national teachers union showed that 12.3% of search engines, good. No, actually, it's an adjective here because search engine results. So when you have a noun as an adjective like you have here, it needs to be singular. So it's search engine results. Could be dubious, largely due to private enterprises tampering with SEO results. Therefore, the over-reliance, again, hyphen, on technology instead of traditional knowledge could be questioned. To conclude, although knowledge acquisition online is a perilous issue, there is still efficiency and operational advantages to be gained. You were right the first time. It's actually are. Because you talk about two gains. So there are still efficiency and operational advantages to be gained. For this reason, I believe that school internet connectivity is a positive development. Okay, great job there. Good structure. Everything looks really good. Just a couple of those issues that I mentioned. Okay, so moving now on to your second task 2. Do copyright laws limit creativity or reward it? Would society function better without such rules and regulations? Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Okay, in a perfect world, everything that is created would be in public domain. You don't need the in a public domain, just would be public domain is fine. Because there would be no concern that someone would steal your work. Unfortunately, we live in a world where infringements are common. This essay will demonstrate that it supports the argument that copyright, again, here is an example of a noun being used as an adjective, and so it needs to be singular, no S. So copyright regulations are empowering creativity, and that regulations are required to protect intellectual properties. Okay, now intellectual property, in this context, it must be singular. Because we're talking about one abstract thing. So when we talk about properties, we're talking about pieces of land. So just make it, make it singular. Okay, firstly, copyrights regulations, again, singular for copyright. Empower creativity as well as they protect expressions have been put into words or music, such as book or plays. I think you meant books. Your usage of as well as isn't really spot on here. Okay, so there's something kind of awkward about it. Maybe it's because you also have the word they right after it. So if you had left they out, it works a little better. Copyright regulations empower creativity as well as protect expressions. Yep, that works just fine. That have been put into words or music such as books or plays. This is largely because the expression of the intellectual property is protected, but the idea itself is not. Great grammar there, great explanation. In this way, it encourages creativity and dissemination of knowledge. Nice vocabulary there. Good job. For example, if you write a drama about a drug dealer named Juan who was living in a Bolivian prison, the copyright laws protect the expression of your idea, but anybody could write about a drug dealer living in a Bolivian prison. Nice example. Therefore, copyright, again, at no S, regulations are not restricting artistic creativity. Okay, really strong paragraph there. Great job. Secondly, rules and regulation, you need an S here, are required to protect the money that can be made of the invention. Here, I believe you wanted actually to say to money that can be made off of the invention. That's the actual phrasal verb that we use here. To make money off of something. This is the reason why uploading copyrighted music or book or music without the owners, you need to show possession here. Consent is an infringement of the rights of the intellectual property. Again, no plural. Copyright laws, no S, are important for design the word is actually graphic design companies that create logos, S, because they protect their employees' creation. One employee, or do you mean all of the employees' creation? So perhaps you really meant to have an apostrophe after the S. Therefore, it is clear that although some people think that copyright, again, no S, laws are unnecessary, these regulations act as a reward because they protect your work. In conclusion, it is clear that out of this discussion emerged an affirmation of the benefit of copyright laws and how they protect the expression of an idea while at the same time they encourage and reward creativity. Great job, Fanny. Really nice work on this task too. Keep it up. So let's move on to look at your task 1. Calorie source for UK male at different life periods. Let's check it out. It's it's one of these static bar charts. So there's no change over time, even though it's talking about different age groups. Okay. But it's just taking a sample of people who are aged, who have different ages. And you'll see in a couple of minutes, in a few seconds actually, why I mention this. All right, so let's look at it. The bar charts show the calorie sources for British males at 3 different periods of their lives: dairy, meats, pulses and vegetables, composed the calorie intake. Now, since it doesn't tell us when this happened, Fanny, you really want to stay in the present tense. Okay, so just compose, not composed. It doesn't tell us that this happened 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but it could be any moment in time, so present tense is best. During the first period from birth up to 24 years, dairy products are the main source of calories, with 43%, followed by meat and vegetables, plural, in equal quantities at 20%, and pulses compose only 18% of the diet at this age. Okay, so remember to use the present tense here. Between 25 and 49 years old, the main source of intake switches to meat, which composes half of the diet of the middle-aged males. Dairy intake decreases sharply by 30%, followed by vegetables, is the right word here, at 15% and pulses at 10%. The trend changes for the males, plural here, over 50 years old, and pulses dramatically increased in popularity. Okay, pulses dramatically increase. Now, I mentioned to you that this was just a moment in time, so it's like a survey being asked to people of these 3 different age groups. So we're not really talking about dramatic increases or decreases. Essentially, they asked 3 different ages of people, and they mentioned preferences. So, not really accurate to talk about increases. It's just that you could say that they were higher. So the words you want to use here really are pulses were more popular or were higher in popularity. This is more accurate than talking about increases, because increases are for something over time, whereas that's not what's happening here. Okay, so in this range of the population to reach a peak at 65%, followed by, meat I think is what you meant here, dairy, and dairy is with AI, not IA, so careful with your spelling. Actually, now that I look at it, you've done it throughout. Diary is a different word, so be careful. It's dairy is AI, okay? Now again, we're not really talking about peaks here, because this is not a bar chart that shows increases or decreases. It just shows one moment in time. So you can just say that the highest point in the bar chart was 65% for pulses. Okay, and then overall the trend completely inverted over the 3 periods. This isn't really the most accurate word to describe what's happening here. You can really just say that the bar chart shows that in 3 different age groups there are drastically different preferences, but not really, we're not talking about an inversion here of any sort. Okay, so the trend completely inverted over the 3 periods, with a preference for dairy, again spelling, for the younger, and a more healthy diet composed of pulses for the older ones. Okay, nice effort. Lots of good things with your expressions, the way you organized your answer. So really good attempt. Just remember, since it's not something changing over time, we're not really talking about increases or peaks, but instead things like higher, lower, and the greatest popularity, and so forth. So keep up the great work. Really nice work with these writing tasks today. So keep it up.